Good morning. Good evening for you, I think. Good morning for me. So, my name is Jihan Shogen. I am 43, just turned 43. I am here in Tampa, Florida, right outside of Tampa. Um, and I'm so excited to be here with you. I love sharing my story. I went through a time in my life where I did not ever share any of my story. And now I'm where I know I have to share my story. The story that I lived was meant to be shared. I grew up, I think a lot of women that I have spoken with grow up with this feeling that they want to fix, we want to help, we're doers and we want to see people be okay, right? Just be okay. And so my entire life, I thought that that was my purpose. I thought that I was going to be a physician. I thought I was going to go to medical school and have like this, I had my life plan. I had my life planned out, right? And so I went to college, thought I was going to go and just do the plan that I had planned out. And my life completely went off course. I met a man who, at the time I thought was the worst decision ever. And now looking back, I realized was probably my biggest lesson ever. Now, my ex husband, I lived through an abusive marriage for 10 years. Um, Abusive in every sense of the word. Before I always thought, well, if they didn't hit you, it wasn't abusive. And realized that that was not the case. After living through that and learning and coming out the other side, I realized that there were so many women who were in situations that were wrong and not okay and scary and abusive, and they had no idea. And so once I lived through that 10 years, through that, I actually became a mom. So when I became a mother, that kind of woke me up a little bit. And I started digging and researching and thinking, I cannot be the only woman that is living through this. I can't be. I can't be going through this just to go through this. You know what I mean? And so started to research and find and look, and I decided that I wanted to become a coach. I wanted to help other women through experiences that I had gone through, or through experiences where they felt stuck. Somehow they thought they couldn't leave because I thought I was stuck. And I wasn't stuck, but I didn't realize it at the time. So through all of that, I became a coach. I started to share my story with other women. Even just saying the word abusive marriage and not going any deeper, would women would be like, oh, me too, I was in something, let me talk to you, and they would start sharing. And just, it was such an incredible connection and such a healing for me, going through that I realized that, the reason I went through that was so that I could connect with these women. And so from that, I started living my passion. My passion is empowering other women to share their story and to have that connection. That connection is where the magic happens, and so now that's what I do. I work for myself. I run this women's empowerment network. We are connecting women all over the world, and we're sharing and growing. And it's really beautiful, the beauty that can come out of the ashes, that term. And it's real. And so for me, I just want every woman to know that that is the case. Whatever they're going through, it might seem so terrible at the time, but I am here to tell you I came out the other side. And so they can too. There's no reason that every woman can't see the beauty in their process. So, yeah.
Wow, what an amazing story.
Thank
What's
you.
interesting though is it took you having children
Yes.
for you to actually realize where you were in terms of your relationship, your life,
Yep.
and what you really wanted out of life.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It was almost like I was asleep
Yes.
almost until it was almost like it was that other human. And of course, there were other humans interacting in my world, right? But it was almost like I was now, I realized I was responsible for this other little human's well being. And I was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not just me. This is not just me. I cannot let this beautiful little thing grow in a way where I'm stifling that magic for them. And so that was really that was my wake up call for sure. I say, you know, he saved my life. I don't like to say that because that's a lot of pressure on a child, but I
But
do.
it's
I
true.
feel like he did. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's just incredible. And what's exciting though is you managed to do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're doing it for other women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is it important for us as women to share the experiences we've gone through to help the next person not have to go through the same pain that we went through? Why
Oh,
is sharing of these stories so important?
you know, there's so many answers to that. I think, you know, there's a quote, it's Marianne Williamson, where she says, when you shine your light, it empowers others to shine theirs, you know?
Yeah.
So there's that. I think that there are so many, I know for me, I felt so alone and so isolated and so, you know, even for women that their stories are different than mine, I think that feeling of being alone and having nobody understand and nobody else goes through this and nobody knows what I'm feeling, that feeling is terrifying and it
Yeah.
freezes you exactly where you are. So until we can connect and realize we're never alone. I was never alone. Never. You know, there were all these women surrounding me who were living through the same thing. We just didn't realize it, you know. And so when you even just one connection, if you just find one connection and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to sit here and stay stuck. It opens everything up, you know, and then it allows other women to share their story. It's like a reaction almost.
Almost a domino effect
Yes.
happens when
Yep.
that goes on. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously got out of the relationship, started a new life, you've got your kids. How did you manage to do that? You know, a lot of times when women are in abusive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
they can't see the wood from the trees.
Mm-hmm.
What was the breaking point? What was that moment in time when you realized enough is enough? I've got to get out of here.
Um, it was actually a friend of mine who sat me down and said, you are in an abusive relationship until
You
somebody,
didn't see it.
no. I mean, I knew something was wrong, right?
Yeah.
It definitely was not okay, but I had never used those words. I had never, because I didn't have any bruises. I wasn't being physically harmed. And so it wasn't until she sat me down and literally sat me down and looked me in the face and said, you are in an abusive relationship. And I was like, you're right. And so that kind of started the, you know, when I'm a digger, I'm a researcher. So once I have like an idea, I like to learn everything about it. So then I started learning and I went to some support groups. I think therapy is amazing. I went to therapy. And I think the groups, those support groups were the beginning of me realizing that I had to share. I had to share my story because those groups and the women there even just sharing what we were going through was so
Yeah.
healing that I thought, I think I need to take this bigger. I need to do more. And so it was it was not easy in the sense of it was a lot of intention, right? So every
Yes.
single day I had to decide, okay, this is where I am. This is, you know, it is acceptance, I think, is a big thing. You know, this is it. This is the situation. This is, I cannot go backwards. So what can I do to now move myself forward? You know, it was a lot of intention setting and staying, and I'm not saying that I did not fall off the path, but to stay almost, you put the blinders on, like, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You need almost laser focus at that
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Wow. What a blessing, though,
Yeah.
that you had a friend who reflected it back to you.
Yeah.
A lot of times we resist when the truth is presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to see it. It's too painful for us to, to face the situation we're in. But you were gracious enough to see the gift that your friend was giving you, correct?
Yes, but let me say, this was not the first person who had sat me down. This, for
Okay.
some reason, it clicked at that moment. But for many
Yeah.
years, people had said, "Hey, you know, something's not. And I always thought, oh, nobody can tell. Nobody can tell anything's wrong. Everybody could tell everything something was wrong. And people had tried to say, but for whatever reason at that moment, maybe it was just the way she, I mean, like looked me in the eye, like, okay, listen. Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like you were ready to hear what she was saying as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not ready to make that move.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you were ready to finally shift.
Yeah. Yeah. It was to the point where it was like, this is either going to need to change or I'm going to really just succumb to it and like lose myself completely. You know what I mean? It was like a pivotal, that point where there's another quote where it says like the pain of staying was greater than of changing. That, yeah, that's where it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if there is a woman today who is listening to this interview and she is unsure, can't see the wood from the trees, and you could give her some advice, what 3 nuggets of wisdom could you share?
So number one, I would say, well, I'm not necessarily in order. So one, do not isolate. That's the biggest mistake that I think women make, whatever situation they're in. It doesn't have to be an abusive relationship. It could be anything that they're experiencing. And they isolate and we think that we have to keep it to ourselves. But that's just, I would say, don't do that. Don't do that because that's going to keep you where you are, right? So don't isolate. I would say give yourself some grace, learn to forgive yourself for whatever situation is happening. A lot of times women are really good at blaming ourselves and guilting ourselves and almost like flogging ourselves with where we are, so give yourself some grace. You did what you knew how to do. It was the best you could do in that moment, and you're going to know better. You're going to do better. So be kind and love yourself, because if you don't, you can't make those changes, right? If you don't love yourself enough to give yourself that grace, you're not going to take those steps, So, and then the third one I think would be to just, I don't know if stay calm is the word I want to, just trust, maybe have that belief in something, just to know that for me, so this was key for me, is that I really dug into my faith and my knowing that I was not in charge of everything. It wasn't just me. That was big for me with my son too, when I said, I did not create this little person myself. So there is a higher power that is taking care of, and I have to just believe that everything's going to be okay one way or the other. And when things got really crazy, that's where I would go to, like, no, I know it's going to be okay one way or the other. Something is going, it has, eventually everything has to come to an end, right? No matter how terrible it is, eventually that will stop and something else will start. So just kind of stay in that, find something that helps ground you, I guess, or center you, where you can go back and just say, okay, I know this is so crazy right now, but I'm going to get to the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that grounding is really crucial.
Oh, yes.
It's either you have to start a meditation practice, you have to start walking, something that calms your mind as well, because the mind chatter is another thing that holds a lot of women back.
Yeah, the worst. That's where it all is. I remember literally times where I would, like, things would be swirling and I would get all, crazy, and I could feel it in my body. And then I would stop myself and say, wait a minute. Nothing has happened in the last 10 minutes in the outside physical world. Nothing has happened. It's all been in here, so it's almost like you have to stay that calm in the midst of that storm. The storm can be like this, but you have to find your center.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, if I could take you into your future, let's say time is an illusion, the past, the present exist in the same timeline. And we could go into your future and you could have a conversation with the future you at the age of 100, sitting in your rocking chair, reflecting back on your life and what life has taught you,
Hmm.
what would you say to this amazing woman who had the courage to start her life all over and create something completely new?
What would older me say to younger me?
Younger you say to older
Or
you.
me say to older me? I think I would say, thank you. I think I would say it's been a hell of a ride. I think now, even back then, though, I think I could see that there was more to like what you see on the surface here, right? I think that I would be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. It all made sense. Now it all makes sense, like now let's relax. Let's sit and have some tea. And I think that I would just be I think that I've come to a place where I'm observing myself through the process now. So I think I would really just say, that was great. That was okay. We did all right.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Now, when it comes to love,
Oh.
have you given up on love? What are your views on love? Are you still searching? Have you found it?
Um, well, I really do think love is really what we're here for, right? I think at the end of the day, I really do think that love and connection is what we're supposed to be doing here on this planet. I don't even know how to put that into more, but I think it all comes to how we love each other. So I have definitely have love in my world. Do I have the romantic fairy tale love that I still believe exists? Not yet,
Not
but
yet.
I know
Coming.
it's there. I know it's coming. I know
Oh,
it's
my
coming.
gosh.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love it. I just love your attitude. It's inspiring to see that life, you have to just keep taking one step, putting
Yes.
one foot in front of the other, not
Yes.
overthinking it, but just knowing that you're going to be fine.
Knowing and the what had got me through a lot of times is, some people say one day at a time. I used to take it to like literally 1 minute at a time, not even an hour at a time. Like, what in this minute, all I have to do really is just breathe. That's it. And then maybe I want to go sit down, and then you get to the chair and then it's like, oh, I just have to sit here. Like, we really can slow it down for ourselves like that. And it's so easy in society and the world and everything going on, and it's so easy to get carried away. But there's that picture, have you ever seen, where it's like the cosmos and the universe, and then it's like a little pinpoint and it's like you are here. you know so when you take it back, it's like, wait a minute, literally in this second I'm okay right here right now, right in this second I'm okay. And then you move to the next second.
Yes. Yeah, I think we do have to live life moment by moment.
Yes.
And especially now with what's happening with COVID, the world is in absolute turmoil and we can't quite see the wood from the trees, but there's divine perfection
Mm.
that is actually happening.
Yep.
Now, my last question for you is related to the COVID pandemic.
Okay.
A lot of relationships are collapsing because of COVID. People's relationships survive when one partner is leaving the house and going to work, coming back in the evening. You can cover up your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
children, with work. Where do you think this is all going? A lot of relationships are breaking down because of COVID.
It's so interesting. I think COVID's really kind of been a blessing. I think that it's really kind of peeling down a lot of things that we thought we wanted, right? Whether it's a relationship or a career or whatever it is, and then maybe the career gets stripped away because they fire you, or maybe the relationship starts breaking down because you're together 24 hours a day. But I think a lot of women, especially men too, but a lot of women, I know for me, I thought I was supposed to do certain things. I thought I was supposed to stay in a certain job. I thought I was supposed to stay in this marriage that was not serving me. And so I think what's happening is that people are seeing, oh, wait a minute, I've gotten myself into something. I don't even want that life. I don't even want that relationship. I don't even want that job, you know? So I think, hopefully, my hope is that it's going to almost like rebirth for people, like to allow them to reinvent and
Yeah.
find what really, really, truly brings them that joy and that spark. And maybe we can kind of like rebuild the entire everything that we knew, which I think we have to do anyway, but maybe in a more authentic way. I would love to see that. I would love to see people come out of this really being their authentic selves. I don't want to work there. I don't want to be with that person. This is me. This is what I want to do.
Yes.
Life is so precious. If I have learned nothing else in this past year or so, it's that, life is so precious. I don't know that I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So why do I want to waste today doing something I don't want to do? You
Yeah.
know?
It is incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible time we're living through.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I really love the fact that you have embraced and taken full charge of your life.
Thank you.
It's inspiring to watch, it's inspiring to see. And if there is anybody out there who is sitting on the fence in a relationship and you need to make a move,
Mm.
my advice to you is move. You
Yep.
are not a tree.
Yes.
Tell us your advice, John.
Yes, that's it. You have a choice. I think that's really what it comes down to is, and that was a thing for me too. That was a pivotal thing for me was I got to the point where it was like, I don't like to just complain, right? So if I can't change something or, I had to say to myself, you have to make a decision. Do you want to stay where you are? And if you're going to choose that though, you're not allowed to complain every day about it, right? You're not
True.
allowed to say he's so mean or I don't like this. If you're choosing it, then you're choosing it. So you got to go with it, right?
Yeah.
Or make a change. And the change may not be easy and it may be scary and you have no idea, but you have to make a decision. You have to
Mhm.
make a decision and you have to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, changing times, changing relationships. Thank you so much for coming online today and
Of course.
sharing your amazing story, your nuggets of wisdom with us. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another fascinating woman from a different part of the world. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, evening, morning,
Yeah.
wherever you are in the world. And thank you again for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Don't go away, Jihan.